We have Jey Uso and Charlotte Flair. They are going to WrestleMania, but what champions will they choose to wrestle on that show? We got our answer tonight as far as Jey Uso is concerned. Jey Uso has made his choice on which champion he is going to challenge. And if you've been paying attention, it will come as no surprise who that person is going to be. No Charlotte Flair tonight, so we still don't know what her decision is going to be, but I suspect that her choice is going to have more to do with SmackDown than it will Monday Night Raw. We had two more Elimination Chamber matches, qualifying matches, that is, tonight on the show. After a whole series of them last week, two more people have qualified on the men's side. Logan Paul is going to Toronto. He will be in the men's Elimination Chamber match. And on the women's side, Bayley has qualified for the women's Elimination Chamber. So they're filling in the spots. Only a few spots left in either match. The biggest surprise, though, actually had nothing to do with any of these people that I've mentioned, and everything to do with Io Sky, who lost last week, and it looked as if she was going to be the odd woman out when it came to the Elimination Chamber. And I thought, well, in the past they've done these last chance qualifiers. And so that'll be a chance for Io to make her way into the chamber, find her way in there, and then we can get Rhea and Io at WrestleMania. But oh no, Io Sky will not be in the women's Elimination Chamber match because Io Sky is getting a championship match with Rhea Ripley. And unfortunately, it looks like it will not be at WrestleMania because at least the first match is going to be taking place prior to WrestleMania, after the Elimination Chamber on Raw, but not at WrestleMania. So what does this mean for Io Sky and what she's going to be doing at WrestleMania? What does this mean for Rhea Ripley and who she will be defending her championship, assuming she, of course, beats Io, who she will defend her championship against at WrestleMania? I've got questions and some potential answers. We'll talk about it. The World Tag Team titles were on the line tonight. We had a championship match with the Vikings, the War Raiders, defending their titles against the Creed brothers. No Chad Gable on the show tonight. He is off trying to, I guess, master the dark arts. The dark arts, which I believe is the name of the school, if I'm not mistaken, that is run by Malachi Black and Zelina Vega. I believe that Malachi Black is a master of the dark arts. Malachi Black also happens to be a free man right now. Kind of interesting. But we didn't have Chad Gable on the show tonight, so we don't know exactly where that's ultimately going to lead. Just putting it out there. The dark arts. It's a hint. It's a hint about something. And AJ Styles is back on Monday nights. It's good to have him back. It's good to have his theme song back as well. The prior theme song, not the one that we heard the last time he was on TV before he got hurt. Still wearing blue, but he is back on the red brand, and we got a potential hint tonight about where his WrestleMania direction may be taking him and a possible opponent for him. I thought tonight's show, it was a solid show. It really wasn't all that exciting. I thought this was a show, unlike other recent episodes of Raw, that was not carried by the promos. It was not carried by any of the outside the ring activity or major angles or anything like that. It was largely carried by the in-ring work tonight. There were several good to really good matches on this show. The main event was good with Logan Paul and Rey Mysterio. The tag team title match, which I know for many people had a very dissatisfying ending. I'll tell you why I didn't mind it so much. That was a good match. They had a women's tag team match on this show. That was very good. So outside of the opening segment, there really were no major angles or promos to hang your hat on here. It was really all based around the ring work. That's really what carried the show tonight here on Raw. We'll talk about all of it because this is your Raw on Netflix review. It is Monday, February 10th, 2025. I am the Solomonster. I'm still stuck in 2024. I've said it a few times. I don't know. It still doesn't feel like a new year to me, but it is. It is 2025. I am the Solomonster. Like and subscribe. Super chats are open, and I do appreciate all the support that you send my way. And hopefully we can have a strong month of February because it's always the shortest month. It's always the toughest one, but hopefully we can have a good February. And I will read your messages, so you'll see them popping up on your screen as well as they come in. I want to thank everybody for all of the comments I've gotten so far on episode 900 of the Sound Off. Yes, episode 900 dropped yesterday of the Solomonster Sounds Off. If you missed it, I don't know what you're doing. You better go back and check it out. Over 2 hours covering the news of the week, your questions, a whole bunch of good shit. 900 of these things. It's hard to believe. We are now on the path to 1,000. We got a ways to go, but we're getting there. We're getting close. So thank you for that. And again, if you missed the episode, definitely go back and check it out. Also, I want to draw your attention to something in the live chat. You will notice pinned to the top of the chat, there are 2 links. And those links will take you to 2 different polls that were put together by David. Shout out to him. He put together another one of his Be the Booker super cards. Actually, he did 2 of them. And you guys need to go vote for David. You can vote on all the matches that he outlined there for you. So again, there's 2 links. Go ahead and you can vote in either poll, and that would make David very, very happy. So go ahead and do that. How did we open Raw tonight? Well, we opened Raw with the way I think we opened it last week, coming out of the Royal Rumble. We opened it with the winner of the men's Royal Rumble, Jey Uso, on the concourse, making his way out into the arena, celebrating with the little kids, celebrating with all of his fans, yeeting the entire building in Nashville tonight. Yeeting. They mentioned 13,000. They did not call it a sellout, but they had 13,000 or so people in the building tonight. So Jey Uso makes his way through the crowd. He hops the barricade and comes to ringside. And everybody is still singing his song. And everybody is still bobbing up and down. And the announcers, Michael Cole, like a geek over there, he's still bobbing up and down. Everybody's celebrating. And so he gets in the ring, and they started doing this last week, where everybody is still, having fun with the song. And so he has them cue it up for a second time. And so they did. They started his music again. He continued to yeet. He ended up outside the ring, and Jey stands up on top of the announce desk, and he is continuing to dance. And Michael Cole and Pat McAfee on commentary, all of a sudden, they try to warn him. They try to get Jey's attention. And the reason being is they could see that he was about to be attacked by Gunther. And Gunther then attacked Jey Uso at ringside, and the way that they shot this was actually, very well done, because you couldn't really see that Gunther was coming, right? If you were in the front row, you could, but we couldn't see it. But there he is, and he takes out Jey. I think he swept his legs out from underneath him, and Gunther takes off his jacket. He has this black jacket that he was wearing, and Pat McAfee on commentary was insulting him. He was like, "Oh, that Australian." I think he wanted to call him an Austrian asshole. He called him an Austrian, and then he stopped. But Gunther took his jacket off and he threw it. He flung it at Pat McAfee. And for some reason, Pat McAfee ducked. And the jacket hit a little kid in the front row. Hit him right in the face. I mean, if he was targeting this kid, I don't think he could have hit him any better than he did with this jacket. He took the kid out. Why the fuck would Pat McAfee duck and let that jacket go flying into the crowd? Dude, it's a jacket. It means nothing to him. But if you're fucking 8 years old and you're standing in the front row and that thing hits you in the face, especially with the zipper, you're going to feel it. So I have no fucking idea why McAfee ducked out of the way. Instinct, I guess. But yeah, that kid, he took a jacket to the face. So Jey fought back. Gunther backed him into the side of the ring, drilled him with a chop. He got him inside the ring, and he continued to rough Jey up until referees came out, some security came out. Gunther pushed everyone aside. He power bombs Jey right in the middle of the ring, and then he leaves. So Jey Uso is laid out in the ring, and he's got a microphone, though, in his hand. And he addresses Gunther, who by this point is already on the stage. And he says, and now Gunther is looking back at the ring, and he's warning Jey. He goes, "You better not." He said, "You better not do that." Says, "You're trash and you're not on my level." So Jey says, "Maybe I shouldn't say what I'm about to say. Me and you, WrestleMania." And everybody cheers. So Gunther didn't like this very much. makes his way back down to the ring. As soon as he gets up on the apron, Jey pops back up to his feet, and he knocks him off the apron. And security is holding Gunther back on the floor. Meanwhile, Jey hits the ropes. He wipes them all out with a huge dive out over the top rope. Everybody falls down. And that was how the segment ended. So it was a hot angle to open the show, and I thought it was very effective as far as finding a way to have Jey settle on Gunther as his opponent for WrestleMania. We have two decisions that need to be made, one on the men's side, one on the women's side, and there was no need to drag them both out for an extended period of time. We still don't know who, we know, but we don't know who Charlotte yet is officially going to choose. She may make her decision this week. But with Charlotte, if they wanted to drag it out for a couple more weeks, they could. I suspect that these will be locked in, well before we get to Elimination Chamber. But they didn't waste any time, and they gave Jey good reason to say, you know what? I don't need to think on this anymore. Because he was very conflicted on SmackDown Friday night when Cody said, hey, did you make your mind up? And Jey said, man, I want you for the WWE title of WrestleMania, but I still got unresolved issues with Gunther. He goes, I just don't know. And here, Gunther gave him a reason to be sure and to make a decision. And so now the match is official. But I said, the way they shot it was well done. They had a camera position in the crowd behind the first few rows, like where the announcers are. So all we could see really were like the tops of people's heads. And then we could see Jey Uso standing on top of the announce desk, yeeting. And then all of a sudden he disappears because Gunther attacked him. So I thought the way they shot that was well done. But again, Jey made his choice. We knew this was going to be his choice. It was the only choice that made sense. Jey Uso is not going to WrestleMania to lose to Gunther for a fourth time. There's no point. There's no purpose in doing that. If Jey Uso goes to WrestleMania and simply loses to Gunther for a fourth time, then it will highlight what a massive mistake it was for him to win the Royal Rumble. Only way this makes sense is if he goes to WrestleMania and he finally exercises the demons and he does what he could not do before, which is beat Gunther. And in doing so, he would finally win his first world championship as a single star. So that's the moment right there. That's the payoff, and that's what they're building towards. But Gunther last week, remember, he threatened to make Jey's life a living hell. If you pick me, because he said he doesn't want Jey to pick him. He didn't want Jey Uso to pick him. Beating you again does nothing for my legacy. This was his whole promo last week. I've already beaten you 3 times. Beating John Cena, that would do something for my legacy. Beating CM Punk, that would do something for my legacy. Or Roman Reigns, or any of these guys, but beating you does nothing. It doesn't challenge me. It doesn't motivate me. So don't pick me. But if you do, I'm going to make your life hell, and I'm going to lay beat down on you the likes of which you've never seen before when we get to WrestleMania. So now that he has made his choice, now what I'm looking for and what I'm hoping for is that they really make Gunther out. He can be very sarcastic and very full of himself, and that's fine. But we need to see Gunther the killer between now and WrestleMania, and he has to deliver on that promise, which is make Jey Uso's life a living hell. Make him regret the decision that he made, and make Jey Uso that much more sympathetic and that much more of an underdog, even though he won the Rumble, going into WrestleMania. That really is their only objective here. Because now we know what the match is going to be, but there's still a lot of time. There's over 2 months left to go before we get to Las Vegas. That's what they need to do between now and then. So I thought what they did here as far as setting the match up, I thought was well done. And this really, looking back on it now, the last 2.5 hours, this was the big angle on the show. There was nothing else they did on this show, promo-wise or angle-wise, that was anywhere near what they did in the opening segment. It really, in many ways, not in terms of the in-ring, but in terms of that, it really peaked here with the opening segment on this show.
I am the learning tree. Thanks, guys.
Hello, Captain Sidro. Where have you been? Sidro did mention that he was going to be back, I think, with us on Monday night. So, good to hear from you, Sidro. I hope you're doing well. Kathy Kelly was in the back to interview the women's world champion, Rhea Ripley, her BFF. If you follow these two on social media, they're very horny for each other. They can't keep their hands off each other. But here you got to keep it very professional. So this was a very professionally done interview in the back. And Rhea thought that Charlotte Flair was wasting everybody's time by not making her WrestleMania decision. Io Sky and Dakota Kai come walking by and they interrupt Rhea. And Io tells Rhea that she cost her a spot at WrestleMania and said, "I'm coming for you." Which again is something that I would expect Kathy Kelly to say to Rhea Ripley, although that's very different. But Rhea Ripley said that she looked forward to it. And Dakota Kai, speaking of which, she has been cleared from her concussion. They never did say publicly what the injury was. It was a concussion. It came in that match many weeks ago where she took that missile drop kick from Zoe Stark that knocked her into the next fucking dimension. And so she missed the Royal Rumble, but she has now been cleared. She was back in action tonight, teaming with Io Sky to take on Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. This turned out to be, I think in many ways, the sleeper match of the night. I certainly was not expecting to enjoy this match as much as I did, although Io Sky was in there, but wasn't expecting what we got here. So Io was isolated until she made a hot tag to Dakota, who worked over Raquel with some strikes. A little while later, Raquel slammed Dakota's face into the ring post a few times. That took us into the commercial break. Io hit Liv with a great missile drop kick, and then followed up with her bullet train double knees in the corner for a 2 count. Io went up top for her over the moonsault. She was looking to end it. Liv Morgan got her feet up, though. Io landed on her feet, though, to avoid getting kicked. And Io put Liv down with a backbreaker for another 2 count. Rodriguez pulled Morgan out of the corner to avoid another bullet train. And Raquel held up Io in what I would describe as a Heart Foundation heart attack position, while Liv Morgan went to the top rope, and she jumped off the ropes, Liv did, and hit a code breaker. And a pretty good-looking code breaker, too, to Io, to where I thought Io may have actually gotten hurt or busted her mouth or broke her nose, because she put her hands over her face, and she was kind of selling her face there for a while after this, which I guess is what she's supposed to do. But a great double-team move. First time I've seen them do that. Too bad it wasn't the finish for them, because it only led to a near fall. Michael Cole, I do have to point this out. Michael Cole referred to it as an assisted oblivion. Now, he's made this mistake before, where he will call a code breaker oblivion. And so here he referred to it as oblivion. It was not oblivion. It was an assisted code breaker is what it was. 2 totally different moves. Raquel then powerbombed her partner onto Io. Io, though, got her knees up on the landing. Dakota tagged in. Raquel again got Liv up in a powerbomb position, but then she lowered her and used her as a swing. And she swung her partner into each woman to use her as a weapon. Liv Morgan hit Dakota with Oblivion, proper Oblivion, and then covered her. Io broke up the pin attempt. Liv Morgan came up bleeding at this point from the right side of her face, and I didn't see how it happened. It was around the temple area. Actually, it was kind of like right above her eye. But there was a decent amount of blood. And again, the blood wasn't so much in her eye as much as it was on the side of her face, but it was a decent amount of it. So the gloves came out on the referee. Dakota hit her big running corner kick to Raquel. Morgan put Dakota down with a code breaker. Io rolled up Morgan for a 2 count. A lot of back and forth here at this point. People chanting, "This is awesome." Morgan came back with a roll-up of her own. Io rolled through. I always love when she does this. Rolls through and then immediately jumps up and double stomps Liv right in the guts. And then she climbs up top. She hits her over the moonsault, and she scores the pin to win it for Damage Control. This turned out to be a hell of a match. Better than I thought it would be, and they gave them a good amount of time, too. They gave them right around 15 minutes. Surprising finish for me, just because they seem to have been building Liv and Raquel up. And I think they made mention later in the show that they have a guaranteed, I guess, tag team title shot, but they have been building these two for a shot at the women's tag team titles. So, you know, them being beaten clean here like this, that also surprised me. And I'm also hoping, by the way, that it's not a sign that the real plan for Io at WrestleMania is just challenging for the women's tag team titles, because I just feel that would be a waste. Clearly, they're doing Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. This is what I'm thinking at this point in the show before we got the segment later on. Like, clearly they're doing Rhea and Io either at WrestleMania or at some point before WrestleMania. And I wrote here in my notes, I said, could be on a show other than WM. Not that I wanted it to be, but I was thinking maybe this match does not take place at WrestleMania. Maybe it takes place at the Elimination Chamber. Maybe it takes place on a show other than WrestleMania. And we have since been given confirmation that that is in fact the case. But we'll get to that a little bit later on. We got an update on the condition of Sami Zayn after what we saw at the end of Raw last week, which was Kevin Owens attacking. He ambushed Sami Zayn after his loss to CM Punk in that Chamber qualifier. And he laid him out. He put him down with a package pile driver. Now, when they did that, when Owens did that to Cody Rhodes, right, he had all kinds of injuries and he missed 2 weeks. The update that they gave us on Friday, and they reiterated that here in this segment after they showed highlights, is that Sami ended up with spinal compression and extreme nerve damage as a result of that heinous attack from Kevin Owens. And they re-aired clips from the Kevin Owens promo from SmackDown where he explained his actions, and he said that Sami Zayn, his supposed best friend, is there at the Royal Rumble during his match with Cody. And as Cody is murdering this man and putting him through that ladder bridge with that Alabama slam, like you can see Sami standing in the background just watching and not doing anything. Yet in the Royal Rumble match, Sami Zayn lending a helping hand at one point to Roman Reigns, but he can't lend a helping hand to his best friend. And as I pointed out, the night of the show, Cody Rhodes then goes from murdering Kevin Owens to slowly ascending the ladder to pull down the championships, and there's Sami Zayn just standing outside the ring, watching on, not doing anything about it. So that was the catalyst for Kevin Owens to say, you know what, you're a terrible, disgusting human being, you're a horrible best friend, and I'm going to make you pay for what you did. Simple story. We don't know yet for sure when the match is going to take place. I still believe it will be at Elimination Chamber, and we're going to get Owens and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. They could keep Sami out for a while to really sell the package pile driver, but again, Cody was back in 2 weeks, so there's no need for Sami Zayn to miss the Elimination Chamber. And I find it impossible to believe that they're going to do a major show in Canada at Skydome, which is where they're running that show. I mean, they're only going to have maybe 30,000 people there, not 60 or 70, but still, and not have Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on that show. It's impossible. It's impossible to conceive that they won't be on that show. Whether they're wrestling each other or not, they're both going to be on that show. Now we had Bayley one-on-one against Lyra Valkyria for the first time ever, and boy, you could tell based on watching this match. This was the women's Elimination Chamber qualifying match for the night. Bayley at one point hit a sunset flip bomb into the bottom turnbuckle, but Lyra got her knees up after on a flying elbow attempt. Valkyria went for a tornado DDT, which Michael Cole said she didn't get all of it. And it didn't look horrendous. She just didn't get the momentum on it. But even Michael Cole was like, she didn't get all of it. And that's not the only time in this match that one of these two women didn't get all of it, unfortunately. Bayley, though, on the come up after the DDT, she countered into a Bayley to belly. Only got a near fall, though. Bayley hit a running knee strike and a suplex of some sort that did not look good for a 2 count. They fought to the apron, and Valkyria hit a tornado DDT and a fisherman suplex out on the floor. Lyra hit another fisherman suplex in the ring for a 2 count, and then she headbutted Bayley off the top and followed with a leg drop while Bayley was draped over the middle rope. Valkyria went for a cradle. Bayley, though, drove her backwards into the bottom rope. And Lyra tried a La Magistral cradle. Bayley, though, countered into a cradle of her own, and she picked up the win to qualify for the chamber. After the match was over, Bayley helped Lyra to her feet, and the two of them posed together while the crowd applauded. Lyra did not snap. She did not smack her. She did not attack her. They simply celebrated Bayley's win when the match was over. There were a lot of rough patches in this match. It wasn't like one slip up or two little slip ups. I mean, nothing catastrophic or anything like that, but it was a Botchamania special here between these two, more than in any other match here on this show, just not on the same page. It was also the first time they've ever worked together, I believe, ever. So I'm sure that played a role in it. Some people, they just don't gel well their first time in. That's just the way it is. And that certainly was the case here in this match. I am also not a big fan of Lyra losing in her first match since winning the Intercontinental title. She won that Intercontinental Championship on January 13th. This is her first match, not counting the Royal Rumble. This is her first match in a month since winning that title. Now, when they instituted these women's mid-card titles, the idea was to help out the middle of the card, right? The women who are not involved in whatever that top storyline is right now with the World Championship, whoever's not involved with Tiffany and Nia, and whoever's not involved with Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, they would have something to fight for. Now, when you have something to fight for, you should fight for it. And so I'm not sure why it took a month to get Lyra back in the ring, even in a fucking non-title match. I'm not sure why it took a month to get her back in the ring, but she gets back in the ring, and her first match back, she loses. And when Bayley beat her, I know the focus was on the Elimination Chamber and her qualifying, but not even a mention of the fact that, oh, Bayley just pinned the Intercontinental Champion. Perhaps she'll be in line for a shot down the road. You know? No mention of it. It's like it didn't even matter. That should have been a bigger deal than they made it out to be. We got a Penta video package where he spoke while flames shot up around him, talking about what Cero Miedo means, and he has no fear towards anyone, especially cowards like Pete Dunne and Ludwig Kaiser. We come back live in the back. Jackie Redmond is interviewing Ludwig Kaiser, but they were interrupted very quickly by Pete Dunne. And Dunne went up to Kaiser. He was pissed at him for getting involved in his match last week. He didn't get involved to help Kaiser. Dunne said that he would destroy Penta next week, told Kaiser, stay out of my business. And with that, he left. AJ Styles was shown walking past Kaiser. He was on his way out to the ring as they went to a commercial break. During that break, since I get to see what happens during these commercial breaks, which is largely nothing, but during this commercial break, they aired what they are now referring to, and they even had a graphic for it, as the McAfee Minute. And so it was Pat McAfee getting on top of the announce desk, and he addressed how terrible all of the Tennessee sports teams are. Not like in a heel, like trying to get heel heat kind of way. Like he would say how much the Titans suck, but like they're going to get good. And then he would mention another Tennessee team, and they also suck, but like it's okay. They're going to get good. But then he put over their music and country music, and he sucking up to the crowd. And then he told the crowd that it was Michael Cole's birthday. And Michael Cole just put his head in his hands, and this is a bit that he's done before, where he says it's Michael Cole's birthday, and he led the crowd in singing happy birthday to him, and he wished him a happy 60th birthday, even though it is not Michael Cole's birthday, and he is not yet 60 years old. But not the first time they've done this bit. See all the exciting things you're missing during the commercial break? Aren't you jealous? So in the back, Lyra was being consoled by Alpha Academy. We had Otis and Tozawa and Maxine Dupree. When American Mage showed up, all but Chad Gable, who again is trying to master the dark arts somewhere to find help against all these luchadors that he can't seem to shake. So Ivy Nile mocked Lyra for losing and said that it's going to be easier than she thought to take that Intercontinental title away from her. Lyra told her, stay in your lane. Said she'll leave the gym to Ivy, but Ivy needs to leave the ring to her. Ivy said she'll do it on her time. Right now, she's focused on watching her boys, the Creeds, go out there tonight and win the World Tag Team titles. And after this, it was time for the phenomenal AJ Styles, who was out to the ring in his big return to Monday Night Raw. I am very glad not only to see AJ back, but to see his theme music back. And whatever that abomination was that they gave him last time, when I guess technically he was still playing heel. But whatever it was is no more. And they went back to his original WWE music. So, good. I wish they would do that with more people. Sheamus is so tired of asking for his old music back, he basically has said that he stopped asking. But I'm sure you all heard about that report from Fightful a few days ago, where there's a lot of frustration within WWE when it comes to Def Rebel and the theme music situation. So it's not just people like me who come on here and make fun. Oh, it's a Def Rebel special. Right? Yeah, look, hey, there have been some bangers. There's some wrestlers on the roster right now that have some bitchin' theme music. Although I still prefer Roman's, heel theme, his previous theme, to the one he's using now. So it's not like it's all garbage, but if you were to take a percentage of what you would consider garbage to the non-garbage, the garbage would overtake the non-garbage, right? It's not good. And there are people who are being actively hurt by having shitty theme music on these shows. And I just don't understand it, because this is not the first time that Fightful specifically has released a report like this. We heard about this last year, about mounting frustration with Def Rebel and the entrance music situation in this company, and how Triple H and the company, they're well aware of it. Really? Well, then Def Rebel must have one of those ironclad contracts, because if they're aware of it, well, now it's a new year and this is still going on. So what exactly is the issue here? If you recognize that there's a problem, then you do something about it. We just had 12 fucking talent releases in the last few days. I covered 11 of them on my show, and then there was a 12th one, an Elektra Lopez, and there could be more, who knows? 12 people gone from the company. You mean to tell me that they can release talent like nobody's business, but Def Rebel? Oh, well, it's hands off. We can't do anything about that. What is the issue here? I just love how there's a recognition that there's a problem, and yet there's seemingly an inability to do anything to correct that problem. So I can't wait until 6 months from now when we get the next report about how all the wrestlers are frustrated with Def Rebel. Makes me appreciate Randy Orton more in that story about how when he came back, they wanted to give him new theme music, and he said, fuck off. You're not changing my music. But AJ Styles was out to the ring. And Michael Cole, because of course they're in bed together now. Not Michael Cole and AJ. I mean, it's a little weird. I mean WWE and TNA. He made mention of AJ's history in TNA. They were in Nashville tonight, right? The fairgrounds. His old stomping grounds. So he mentioned the fact that AJ's a former 2-time TNA World Heavyweight Champion. 4 months ago, AJ said he came to this building with the biggest smile on his face because this was his stomping grounds. He was going to get his career back on track, but then he got injured. And that was a reference to the foot injury, the Liz Frank injury, I believe it's called, which is it's like I don't know if it's a sprain or what, but it's like in the middle of the foot. Apparently it's a very tricky, painful injury. So that's what he was dealing with. His first match back, it was against Carmelo Hayes. I think it might have been a baseball slide. And he fucked up his foot. So he was very frustrated by this. And he thought his career was over at one point. But he still has gas in the tank and something to prove. Anything worth doing is going to be difficult. And he said he's here in Smashville, Tennessee, telling us that he's back and he's got a long to-do list. And that brought out Dominic Mysterio and Carlito. So they got nuclear heat, or Dominic specifically, got nuclear heat every time he opened his mouth to speak. They booed. They wouldn't let him talk. Said it's been a while since AJ's been here, and a lot has changed. One thing that will always stay the same is the Judgment Day running Raw. AJ knows who they are. Says things have changed. I don't see Damian Priest anywhere. I don't see Rhea Ripley anywhere. Or Finn Balor, for that matter. All AJ sees is a guy in purple skinny jeans and Dom, who no one likes. AJ says that Dom will always be Rey Mysterio's punk-ass kid. And they went to throw down. AJ took Carlito out with a Pele kick. Dom, though, got some shots in. He tried to hit the 619, but after Dom came off the ropes, AJ was waiting for him, and he stopped in his tracks, and he bailed. That left Carlito to eat a phenomenal forearm. So they were in Nashville. Again, AJ was going to get a hero's welcome there. It's not surprising. So this was a simple segment, to establish the fact that he is back on Monday Night Raw, back on the red brand. And they made it official already. This is not going to be something I think that they drag out for too long. Adam Pearce made it official. It's going to be AJ Styles one-on-one next week with Dominic Mysterio. And so the Judgment Day stuff doesn't look to be a long-term direction for him, like a WrestleMania direction. Not that AJ and Finn Balor, wouldn't put together a good match at WrestleMania. I'm sure they would. I'd rather not see the Judgment Day as a long-term direction. It's a fine way to reintroduce him to the show. First couple weeks back, but not looking for this to be any more than that. However, Braun Breaker. Now that would be an interesting direction for AJ Styles if they wanted to go down that road for WrestleMania. And when AJ turned away from Adam Pearce after Pearce informed him of the match next week, AJ went to go walk away. He turns, and who's standing there face to face? Braun Breaker. With his Intercontinental title over his shoulder, he was wearing a cowboy hat because they're in Nashville. And they stared at each other for an uncomfortable period of time. They had a lengthy stare down until Breaker told him, "See you around." And he walked off. Now, they already did a similar tease with Braun Breaker and Penta. So this is not a guarantee that the WrestleMania match is going to be Braun Breaker and AJ Styles. If it is, great. I think that'd be potentially a great match. But I'm just pointing out they've done at least one other tease for a potential, possibly WrestleMania. Not everything is going to be a tease for a WrestleMania per se, but immediately people thought that could be a tease for what Penta might be doing at WrestleMania, right? And it was just a brief backstage thing a few weeks ago. So this is the second time they've done this. Either one of those matches would be fine with me. Braun Breaker against Penta, Braun Breaker against AJ. Maybe it ends up being a multi-man match. But they did this tease for a reason. Michael Cole, after this, said that it was official. Adam Pearce had made it official. And we even got the graphic for it with the cards, right? Because of the Vegas theme. At WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas, challenging Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship will be Jey Uso. So that match is now official. Jackie Redmond was up on the concourse to conduct a special interview with her next guest, which was Seth Rollins, who came dancing out through the little entrance tunnel there on whatever level they were, fucking level 200, I guess. And so they're standing with their backs turned to the crowd. So in the background, you see the crowd, you see the entrance and the stage and the screen and everything. She said Rollins has a chance next Monday night to qualify for the Elimination Chamber against Finn Balor. And she asked him how he feels. He said he feels great because his path to WrestleMania now is getting clearer and clearer by the second. And with Jey Uso challenging Gunther, all eyes are now on Cody Rhodes. And he is going to be that guy. Now, all of a sudden, the camera just kind of pans over, and standing right there with them is Finn Balor, which was kind of weird. Okay, there he is. He said all people are seeing is the downfall of Seth Rollins. We all see the cracks. We all saw Rollins lose to CM Punk on the Netflix premiere and lose at the Royal Rumble. And the only thing standing between the Elimination Chamber and winning the World Championship at WrestleMania for him is the guy who's falling apart. So Rollins asked him, "You think I'm standing in your way?" Because they've done this dance before. And anyone who has seen their history, they know the two of them put on a show. But he's got news for Balor. He's got unfinished business with CM Punk. And when he takes care of that, he's got some loose ends he'd like to tie up with Cody Rhodes. So the way he sees it, it's Balor standing in his way. But next week, he's not going to be standing at all. And they played Rollins off as a smiling Finn Balor walked away. For a guy named Pin Balor, he's awfully confident. Balor had a big fucking cheesy smile on his face. When was the last time he even won a match? Lost the tag team titles, right, to the War Raiders. Lost to Damian Priest back at Bad Blood. Lost at Saturday night's main event to Gunther and Damian Priest. Last time he won a match may well have been when they won the tag team titles. I think they had one successful defense maybe. But he's all smiles like he thinks he's just going to march on into the Elimination Chamber, right? Yeah, Finn Balor is not going to the Elimination Chamber, for the record. It's not happening. Speaking of the War Raiders, they were in action on this show. Yes, Finn Balor. That is his name. Balor needs to turn face again badly. I'll be honest, I thought it would have happened by now. He needs something. He needs some kind of a change. They're still teasing dissension with him and Dominic, so there will come a breaking point with those two, whether or not they do the idea that I've talked about, which is having Dom, basically take over as the leader of a new version of the Judgment Day, and they basically all boot Balor out, and that could be what leads to his babyface turn. I don't know if they're going to do that. But he needs a fresh coat of paint in the worst way. We had the War Raiders defending their tag team titles against the Creed brothers. After a break, Ivar made a hot tag. He beat up both Creeds before the Raiders gave Brutus a combo power slam for a 2 count. Brutus gave Ivar an angle slam, and Ivar fought back. He went up top, but he got stopped when Ivy Nile got up on the apron for the distraction. And Julius at that point leapt up to the top rope, like the way LA Knight does, right? He just jumped up to the top rope to join Ivar, delivered a superplex to the big man. Brutus followed from the top rope in a different corner with a moonsault. Eric, though, was able to break up the pin attempt at the last second. The Raiders set up for their finish. Julius, though, hit Ivar with one of the tag team title belts, and the referee called for the disqualification. And after the match was over, Eric also got blasted with that tag team title belt, and the Creed brothers then posed with the title. So an underwhelming finish. We got a lame DQ finish to what otherwise I thought was a very strong match. I don't mind the ending too much, though, because as good as this match was, I'd love to see them run it back again. And the ending guarantees that we are going to get this match at least one more time. So I don't mind seeing it again. I wasn't really expecting a title change tonight anyway. Question is, are they going to put the belts on the Creed brothers, right? The War Raiders have not been champions for that long. But I do wonder if they're going to be used essentially in a transition role, right? They got the belts off the Judgment Day, who were heels. They put them on the War Raiders. And now they're getting ready to transition them back to a different set of heels. Only question is, are the Creed brothers those heels? Is it the Creeds? Is it the New Day? There was a period after New Day turned and did that angle with Big E back in December that I felt like, not right away, but like they were going to slowly build to them regaining the tag team titles, only this time as heels, because they had so much heat. And they still have heat, but they had so much of it that they have not taken full advantage of it. In the time since that angle at the beginning of December, you could probably count on one hand the number of times that they have appeared on this show, which to me is inexcusable. I mean, they should be one of the hot heel acts right now on this show, and it almost feels like they've had them on the back burner in 2025 so far. Although I'm going to mention, their very brief role on the show a little bit later on. So I'm not sure if the plan here is for the belts to just stay with the War Raiders for several more months, which doesn't really make sense to me, because what are you going to have them do? Just run through the few heel teams you have, and then what? Now, they have Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. They've been drafted to Raw, but nobody takes them seriously. Nobody takes them seriously. They have no credibility whatsoever. None. Penta did wrestle tonight, by the way. I'm giving a main event spoiler away, but he wrestled Grayson Waller on main event. But they're on the Red brand now, right? If that's as good as it gets as far as heel teams, if that's one of your premier heel teams on the brand, then you got problems. So to me, it's either going to the Creeds or the New Day. And the fact is, the Creeds can use it a lot more. New Day's been tag team champions like 10 times. They don't necessarily need the titles. They could be heels without the titles. So the Creeds really should get those belts. To me, it's just a matter of when do you do it, because you got to bring some gold into American Made. American Made needs something. And I don't know where Chad Gable is off to right now. You know, he's looking up his guru or whatever it is. I don't know if Malachi Black, if this is how they're going to re-debut him on the WWE roster. We'll see. We'll see very soon, because, again, he's a free agent. He could technically pop up any week now on TV. But whatever they're going to be doing with American Made, they need credibility. They need credibility wins. And one of the ways to do that is to win gold. I would have moved them over to SmackDown. I'm surprised they're still on Raw, to be honest with you. But the Creed should win those tag team titles at some point. Now we go backstage to the Judgment Day clubhouse. Finn Balor suggests that Dom and the ladies should listen to him. If they would have listened to him, then things maybe would be going their way. But everybody was like licking their wounds. Again, Liv got hurt in her match earlier, and Dom was like, you know, checking the gash on the side. She had a nasty gash too. It was like right above her eye. And it didn't look like it was stitched up yet, but she's going to need stitches for that. It's going to leave a mark. It's going to leave a battle scar right above her eye. But it was a pretty gnarly looking gash. Finn says that Dominic started things with AJ Styles, and so he's going to have to finish them because he's staying out of it. And Dom suggests that maybe we should add a new member. We've been shorthanded lately, and with JD being down. Balor wouldn't hear anything of it. Said he's going to beat Seth Rollins next week. He's going to go to WrestleMania, and he's going to win the WWE Championship. No, he's not. No, he's not. But yeah, like I said, Liv had the gash. She still had dried blood on the side of her face. She kind of looked like a badass here, I'm not going to lie. Now, elsewhere, Rhea Ripley approached Io Sky and Dakota Kai, who looked like they were leaving. And Ripley said, look, I don't owe you anything. And I'm not giving you a title shot because I have to. I'm giving you a title shot because I want to. And she says that it's going to be her against Io Sky for the Women's World Championship on the Raw after the Elimination Chamber, which I believe is March 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. And Io said she can't wait. On the one hand, great. It's going to be a great fucking match. I can't wait to see it. And it gives Raw a big match, which is cool. But then reality sinks in and I say, shit. If she's getting a title match in advance of WrestleMania, then they're not doing it at WrestleMania, right? Right? It would stand to reason that there's a very good chance that match is not going to happen at WrestleMania. And I really was hoping that would be the WrestleMania match. But that's not necessarily the case. Although it does beg the question, if that is the case, who the hell does Rhea Ripley face at WrestleMania, if not Io Sky? Well, look at who's qualified so far for the Women's Elimination Chamber. Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and Bayley. Rhea against Alexa Bliss, I don't see it. I think they have other plans for Alexa. And Alexa's on SmackDown anyway. So, I mean, what are they going to do? They're just going to move her right back to Raw? I mean, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I don't see it being Alexa Bliss. Now we have 2 more spots left to be filled in that chamber match. Next week, we're getting a qualifier between Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. I would expect Roxanne is going to advance. And Roxanne and Bayley are going to be involved in an NXT Women's Championship match with Julia this weekend at Vengeance Day. I still think that the direction for WrestleMania is very likely going to be Bayley against Roxanne in a singles match. So it makes all the sense to me for Roxanne to qualify next week, go to the chamber, and use that to really kind of not start something because they've already started, but just continue the bad blood between Bayley and Roxanne, and that could then segue into a WrestleMania match between the two of them. So it's not going to be Roxanne Perez wrestling Rhea Ripley. It's not going to be Bayley wrestling Rhea Ripley. And I have no interest in seeing that match at WrestleMania anyway. Charlotte Flair. Last week, they really made you think that Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley might complete their trilogy at WrestleMania. They're one apiece. Charlotte beat her at WrestleMania 36. Rhea beat her at WrestleMania 39. They had that excellent match. And so now this could be the rubber match, right, between the two of them. And Rhea said, pick me. You don't respect me. I want you to pick me so I could beat the respect into you. Right? It was all right there. Would they actually go ahead and do Charlotte Flair one-on-one against Rhea Ripley? I'm going to say no, and I sure as hell hope not. Not because I don't think those two wouldn't have a great match, but it's not the match I want to see. And I honestly don't think, I think Charlotte and Tiffany, that's the direction. So let's assume that's not going to happen. What else are we left with here? Here's what I'm wondering. Two things I'm wondering. Are we potentially looking at a Liv Morgan Elimination Chamber win? Liv Morgan then gets involved on Raw the following Monday in the match between Rhea and Io, so we don't get a decisive winner. We don't get a clean winner. And then somehow the match morphs into a three-way at WrestleMania, and we get a triple threat with Rhea, Liv, and Io. I don't have the appetite to see Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. It's like Drew and Punk. Right? They had some great matches together. I mean, that Hell in a Cell match was excellent. And they're going to be in the chamber also. They're going to be in the Elimination Chamber together. They were in the Royal Rumble together. They're going to be in the Elimination Chamber together. And it just gets to a point where it's like, we don't need to see this anymore. It's time to move on. Rhea and Liv is done. It's done to death. Do we really need to get a triple threat match at WrestleMania? The answer is no, we don't. But I do wonder if that would be a possibility. And then I look at some of the other names that have qualified for the chamber match so far, and I land on one. And that one is Bianca Belair. Now, going into the Royal Rumble, I had picked Bianca to win. Obviously, she didn't win. But I said Bianca and Io, I would be fine with either of them winning the Royal Rumble because I would love to see Rhea wrestle either of them at WrestleMania. The real WrestleMania match, though, for being honest here, and it's been a WrestleMania match I've talked about for years, is Rhea Ripley against Bianca Belair. Bianca could well win the chamber, and they could end up doing Rhea and Bianca at WrestleMania. And we heard not that long ago that that was one of those matches that was being discussed internally. They were talking about possibly doing Rhea and Bianca at WrestleMania. It seems unlikely because of the whole Jade Cargill thing. I don't know what's going on with the Jade Cargill thing. I don't know when they're planning on bringing her back. She's been spotted at the Performance Center training. I don't know why she wasn't training at the Performance Center before. I could have told you she should have been training at the Performance Center every fucking week. But she's not hurt. They're just waiting to bring her back at the right time. I have to think that whatever Bianca is going to be doing at WrestleMania is going to be tied in some way to the Jade Cargill story, if not a match with Jade. So as much as I would love to see it, even that to me doesn't seem likely. So I'm just wondering if we get some kind of a fuck finish between Rhea and Io on March 3rd that will necessitate a rematch, and maybe Io does get a title shot at WrestleMania, but there could be other people involved. I could see Liv Morgan involved. It could end up that way. It's just not needed though. So we'll see. There's a few different ways that this could go. You know, of all the options though, I tend to lean towards that three-way. But Rhea and Bianca, that's probably the one match where if they were going to do that, I'd be okay with leaving Io out of the equation. Because I wouldn't want to muddy that up with, you know, a third person or a fourth person. I'm kind of where I was a month ago. Rhea and Io, Rhea and Bianca, I'm fine with either one of those. But this does make things a little more intriguing now because I thought that Io would find her way into the chamber and, you know, a last chance qualifier, and that's obviously not going to happen now. So after this, we had somebody who's already qualified for his Elimination Chamber make his way out to the ring, and that is one CM Punk. And Punk said that he did speak with confidence about winning the Royal Rumble, and he said, well, sometimes I talk too much. And he says he's disappointed that he did not win the Royal Rumble, but he's not disappointed that Jey Uso won. He spoke about the Elimination Chamber being his path now to the WWE Championship match with Cody Rhodes. Punk brought up John Cena. He said he wanted to talk about one guy who has already declared. While everybody else has to win their way in, this man just flat out declared for the Elimination Chamber, and that's John Cena. And Punk said, yeah, he was upset at first, but he's not upset now because Cena deserves to call his shot. But at some point in that match, unlike the Royal Rumble where they barely interacted, unlike the Rumble, he said, at the Elimination Chamber, he said that he's going to beat the crap out of John Cena. And then he added that with Jey Uso challenging Gunther, he would be coming for Cody Rhodes. And he said, Cody, I told you, I'm not going to stab you in the back. I'm going to stab you in the front. But to do that, I have to win the chamber. I have to. It's the only path left for me to get that title shot against you at WrestleMania. So he talked about facing Drew McIntyre in the chamber and said he didn't even like to name drop Seth Rollins, but he's also potentially going to end up being in that match. Punk said it doesn't matter who else is in there because he's going to win the chamber. He said he's never been more confident in his entire life, and he pointed at the WrestleMania sign, there it is, said that WrestleMania belongs to him. I thought the Royal Rumble belonged to him. It didn't work out too well for him, so I wouldn't take this guy's word for it. Logan Paul made his entrance, and he came out, and he joined Punk in the ring, and Logan said that he could see why they call him Punk, and he could think of a few other names for him. Paul questioned why the fans would cheer him, being Punk, and boo him. And then he remembered he was the one who eliminated CM Punk from the Royal Rumble, dashing his hopes and dreams. And he said that was the greatest 15 minutes of fame in Punk's career. Punk said that or Paul said rather, that he's got Punk's number. Punk conceded that Logan eliminated him from the Rumble and said that he would have mentioned that, Paul possibly being in the chamber, but he forgot that he was even in a qualifying match. Punk said the number that Paul pulled tonight is 619. And he said that if Logan is lucky enough to get by Rey Mysterio, he will see him in Toronto and he will put him to sleep. Pretty paint-by-numbers shit by CM Punk promo standards. The most interesting part, honestly, was him name-dropping John Cena and threatening to kick his ass. You know, because this is the last chance to get the two of them in the ring together. Hopefully they'll do a proper match with them at some point this year. But a lot of history between those two. A lot of great matches between those two. To me, none better than the match in Chicago. There might have been technically better wrestling matches that they had. But in terms of drama, in terms of atmosphere, and just all the circumstances around it, and just in the building that night, in Chicago of all places. I remember, towards the end of the match when Cena got him in the STF in the middle of the ring, and there's a point where the building in Chicago is literally shaking. Like it's crazy. So there were a lot of highs and lows in that match, and it was just a 5-star affair at Money in the Bank 2011 between those two guys. But the match they had on Raw in 2013, which is the last time those two had a match together, may have been the better match of the two. That was the infamous pile driver match, where frankly CM Punk, they should have found a way to add him to that main event. He did belong in the main event of any year. He should have been in the main event that year, but it didn't happen. But it was a great match. So now they're a lot older. I've made the comment that I think John Cena is washed. Bell to bell in the ring, he is. He's just not the same performer. And he can get by because of who he is and because it's his retirement year and everybody is waxing nostalgic in every city he goes to. It's the last time, right? The last Royal Rumble, the last WrestleMania, the last SummerSlam. He could get by just on that alone. But in the ring, he's not the same performer. CM Punk is not the same performer that he was, fucking 12 years ago. But Punk can still go. Punk can still, especially with the right opponent, Punk going out there. He showed it in AEW. And he has shown it so far in WWE that he can still go out there and have a fucking great match. John Cena, the last several times we've seen him in the ring in terms of like matches, it's not been good. It's not been good. The match with Solo Sikoa, the match with Austin Theory, not good. So what this match would look like between them, probably very different than the last time, but I still would like to see it. That's why I said, I did my predictions for this year. I said, one of my wild, bold predictions for 2025 is that somehow, some way, because they're both retiring after this year, we get a match for the first time ever between John Cena and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Do I think that it would be a great match? No. Tanahashi could barely move. Like, it's painful to watch him with those knees. But it's still Tanahashi. It would still be Tanahashi against Cena. So there's still a lot of value, I think, in doing that match. And there are a lot of people who would still want to see the match, even though you'd be watching it thinking, man, if only this would have happened fucking 12 years ago, right? 15 years ago. But I'm hoping at some point John Cena with the right opponent, whether it's Punk, whether it's Cody, whether it's Randy, Kevin Owens, right? That's another one I'd love to see again. At some point, hopefully he'll be able to have at least that one match this year that people can look at and go, that was a great fucking match. Like that's the match he should have gone out on. Because I can't remember the last one that Cena had. When was the last truly great match that John Cena had? I can't remember. I don't know. Honestly, I'm inclined to say Royal Rumble 2017. When he won 16 against AJ Styles at the Alamo Dome. That may be it. That may be it. Because I really didn't think the match he had at SummerSlam in 2021 with Roman Reigns was, any great shakes. I'm legitimately thinking it might be the Royal Rumble in 2017. Dude, that was 8 years ago. He's not the same guy. But Rey Mysterio was out for the main event, which was an Elimination Chamber qualifying match against Logan Paul. This was Logan's first ever match on Monday Night Raw, and only his third television match in 3 years with WWE. I think the other two were both qualifying matches. One might have been for King of the Ring. The other one, I don't know what the other one would have been for. But I'm almost positive the two SmackDown matches he had were both qualifiers of some kind. Few rough spots early on with these two.
Watch me. Say hello to Liver Morgan. You know you want me, baby.
Liver Morgan. Have yourself a nice helping of Liver Morgan here on a Monday night. Thank you, George. That's not creepy at all. Few rough spots early. The match did get better as it went on. Logan hit a nice fall-away slam moonsault ahead of the final commercial break. They did a spot outside the ring where Logan was going to drive him into the ring post, but Rey countered and sent him hurtling forward into the ring steps. Rey followed with a sliding splash from the inside of the ring, under the bottom rope, out to the floor. Rey hit a seated senton and springboard moonsault, got a 2 count. Logan responded with a springboard moonsault of his own for also a 2 count. And Rey came back with a tornado DDT. He tried for a 619. Logan booted him, though. And Logan mounted Rey in the corner. Rey slipped underneath him, got him in a powerbomb position, and hit a sit-out powerbomb for 2. Rey did finally hit the 619. Logan got his knees up on the follow-up frog splash, though. And then Logan finished him off with a right hand, right? The dreaded right hand with the metal plate. And then he has a new finish. And I assume this is what he's calling it. This is what Pat McAfee called it. He referred to it as the pulverizer, which was basically a back suplex lift into a DDT. So back suplex position, gets you up into the air. As you fall, your body flips, and you end up in a DDT. It looked cool. Like, if that's going to be his finish, not the kind of move he can hit on anybody. Obviously, on Rey, it's going to be easy to hit. You're not going to see him hitting that on fucking Braun Strowman or Bronson Reed. But I thought it was a cool looking finish. And he punches his ticket to the chamber match in Toronto on March 1st. So Logan Paul now joins John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and I am sure Seth Rollins will follow next week. As the show is ending, Logan leaves the ring. He's showboating and celebrating in the aisleway. They cut back to the ring, though. Rey Mysterio's on the mat. New Day, Kofi and Woods, they come from out of nowhere, obviously through the crowd, and they pounce on Rey like a savage attack, and they're just pounding away on him. And we saw about 2 seconds of this before they cut away and they went off the air. And that's how the show ended. The only thing missing here was Tony Schiavone screaming, "We're desperately out of time," even though you realize they're on Netflix now, and they did not go the full 3 hours. So they have plenty of fucking time. This is what they wanted, though. They ended it this way because they wanted the cliffhanger. They wanted people to be like, "Oh my God, I wanted to see that. I want to see what happened." And maybe they'll upload it to the YouTube channel or something. You know, they probably will. I would imagine it'll probably end up on social media. But they did that on purpose. So yes, even though it's ridiculous because they really did, they had plenty of time to show us the angle. Why would the cameras no longer be rolling? And yet they cut away. So yes, very dumb, but they did that, by design, obviously. And hey, at least New Day, they actually got a few seconds of airtime tonight. That's the only fucking time we saw them on the show. I think it was during one of the commercial breaks they cut a promo. Otherwise, that's it. That was all they did on the show tonight. They attacked Rey Mysterio for the last 2 seconds before they went off the air. So I guess they're coming back around to the tag match that they teased many, many weeks ago, where I thought it might end up being Penta debuting as Rey's partner against the New Day, and then they went in a totally different direction. I do wonder if maybe it will end up being Penta. Penta's got a match next week already. He's wrestling Pete Dunne. So, and there was no tag match announced, but if they announce a tag match and Rey has to find a partner, yeah, there's Dragon Lee, but they already did that match. And so putting Penta in that spot would be a great spot for Penta to be in, to be tagging with Rey against one of the hot heel acts on the show. I don't know if that's where they're still going with it. It felt like they were headed there at one point. But at least they got New Day on the show, and that has to mean they'll be on the show next week. They're not featuring them enough. It really does feel like they've been put on the back burner, and I don't understand why. I'm not even saying, they got to be on the show every single week, because unless they're wrestling, like after a while, it's like, what would they be doing? But you got to get them on the show more often. I mean, they had so much heat coming out of that angle in December, and I feel like they've squandered a lot of opportunities to do some fun stuff with them. And that was December 2nd, I think, when they did that. Right? The 1st or the 2nd, whatever that first Monday was in December. And dude, we're heading into Valentine's Day now. So at least we got to see them at all on the show tonight. On the whole, I thought it was a solid show. It was not one of the more exciting episodes of Raw they've done in recent weeks. It really was carried by the in-ring tonight. I like the opening angle with Gunther and Jey Uso, and not much else as far as any other promos, angles, anything they've done. The main event was good. The tag team title match was good. And the women's tag match turned out to be really good. And I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would. And we got a couple more qualified for the Elimination Chamber. Again, these qualifying matches are a great way to eat up TV time. And you spread them out over a few weeks. So we don't have a lot of spots left to fill. I think in the women's match, it might be one or two more. Same thing on the men's side. And then we'll have the fields locked in. And before you know it, March 1st will be here. It'll be the Chamber. And then we'll know. We'll know officially what the direction is for all the key matches at WrestleMania. So it's coming up pretty quick. Let's take a look at the Twitter poll and find out what you guys thought of the show tonight. What did you think of Raw from Nashville? 80% thumbs up and just shy of 20% thumbs down. So an overall thumbs up for Raw tonight. I give that a thumbs down. Now, Hydrograd, I give you a thumbs up. Thank you for the $25. That's from our boy Hydrograd, coming in with Bree Mode. And there's Nick Grasso, coming in with the $4.99. All right, let's take a look at your super chats here. I don't know how many there are. Let's take a look, though, and see if I could answer whatever questions you guys have. Let's get to it. Let's get interactive here. And as far as the goal tonight, we are far short of the goal for Be the Booker. So I don't know. Got to get those likes up. All right, let's take a look at the earlier super chats from tonight. Start out with Zizu. What's going on, Zizu? Zizu has a theory. It says, my theory on how to handle Sami, KO, and Orton. Have Sami and KO match in Toronto and have Randy cost Kevin Owens the match. Sami gets mad at Randy for interfering in the match, which sets up a triple threat for WrestleMania. See, I'm not a huge fan of that. I just don't. I just think the issue is Sami and Kevin, and then separately the issue is Randy and Kevin. Now, it would be good for Sami Zayn because if Sami is not involved in a match like that, the only other opponent I could think of for Sami Zayn that they may be setting him up for WrestleMania is Karrion Kross. And that would be great for Karrion Kross. It would be a huge downgrade for Sami Zayn in terms of what he's been doing over the past few years. So it would be a good spot for Sami, but I really don't want to see a triple threat match. I'd rather see one-on-one. You know, sometimes triple threat makes all the sense in the world. In this case, to me, it just doesn't. You can create an issue. Like what you're doing there is creating a reason for Sami to be angry at Randy Orton, but Randy and KO, I mean, that's the play. You know, Sami would just feel tacked on. Jerome Eugenio, Intercontinental Champion Bird Girl, losing already. Champs are chumps. She's flown the coop. Dev to Dust, buy or sell. Which NBA player had the cooler name? Hakeem Olajuwon or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Hakeem Olajuwon. And it pains me to say that, because it makes me think of 1994. But I gotta go Olajuwon on that. I'm sorry. Sidro, celebrating 7 months of channel membership. Sidro, thank you very much. Then Sidro is coming at us here with a $5 super chat. Says, I misplaced Dwayne Johnson's cutting tool for the origami workshop. I can't believe I lost The Rock's paper scissors.
You suck.
Boots. You mentioned people overusing and misusing the term buried after the Super Bowl halftime show ended. Would you say that Kendrick Lamar buried Drake? Yes. Yes, I would. Not only did he bury Drake, he buried him in front of 100 million people, which is like the ultimate burial. And there ain't nothing Drake can do about it. Drake don't have no Super Bowl halftime audience to get his comeback in. He got screwed. This journey called life. I really liked the women's tag match. I hope Liv is okay. She'll be fine. She'll be fine. She's tough. She's walking around with a gash on her face like she was just in a UFC fight. She'll be fine. Walking around like she's Amanda Nunes or something. The crowd was on fire for Jey tonight. Great segment. They're on fire for him every week. This was the same thing last week when he came out after he won the Rumble. Joseph Miro released on Rusev Day. Criminal. Do you think he'll retire or return? You also see Starks getting a new and dumber WWE rebrand name. No, I mean, if Ricky Starks goes to WWE, he's going to be Ricky Starks. Anything else would be ridiculous. And Miro, I have no idea. He is one of the weirdest cases that I could think of. I don't know. I don't know what to make of him. I really don't. I don't know what he wants to do. I don't know if WWE is... Well, I'm sure WWE would be interested in him, but I don't know. He'll probably just end up back in WWE, but I don't know where things went wrong and who's to blame between him and AEW. Maybe it's a little bit of both. It confounds me. I don't know what happened there. I'm sure there's enough blame to spread around for his run going the way that it did. That's not something you could just put entirely on Tony Khan. We've got Abyssal Zones. 2 weeks in a row where Liv and Io put on a really good match together. I've been really enjoying their in-ring chemistry on Raw lately. Well, if it ends up being a three-way at Mania, that I suppose is one of the benefits, is that the two of them seem to work really well together. So it probably would be a great match. But I just, Rhea and Liv again, it's like, must we do this? Sidro. Friend with stuttering problem was sent to prison. I fear he may never finish his sentence. And wife accused me of stealing her thesaurus. Not only was I shocked, I was appalled, aghast, and dismayed. See, now I like that one, but that, I feel like you have to be like kind of a nerd to appreciate a joke like that, but I do. I appreciate that joke. Thank you, Sidra. Hulkling93, tonight's idiot ball carrier, the Creeds, for getting themselves disqualified. Yeah, that was pretty stupid. But again, if it clears the way for a rematch, I'd love to see these two teams go at it again. Yeah, it did not make them look very bright, though. Barry MK, Liv's been looking amazing. She's really become my favorite woman in WWE right now. She also posted a video on Instagram showing off her cut and laughing. Yeah, she leaned into it. I think it's great. She plays her part very well. She was a huge beneficiary of Rhea Ripley going down with that injury. If that doesn't happen, she's not in the spot that she's in right now. And so when one person goes down, you take a negative and you turn it into a positive. Where there's injury, there's also opportunity. And she is a classic case of that. She took the opportunity that was presented to her under the worst of circumstances and turned it into a career resurgence, and turned it into gold for herself. And a new contract, because I believe not that long ago she signed a new 5-year deal. So good for her. Jeremy Rose went to Raw tonight, got to yeet with Jey. Good time. New Day attack of Ray was a nice angle. Looks like an injury angle, setting up New Day against Dragon Lee and Ray. Well, I mean, we've already seen it, but okay. I'm thinking Ray and a partner that is not Dragon Lee, but we'll see. If it is an injury, that didn't come across to me as an injury angle because they didn't do anything to him unless it happened off the air to injure him. Now maybe they did something to him and they'll show us highlights and Ray's going to be gone for a while. Maybe WrestleMania is Ray and Penta against the New Day. Maybe that's a WrestleMania match, Could be. Maybe it's not Penta and Braun Breaker for the IC title. Maybe it's AJ and Braun Breaker and Penta is going to be partnered up with Ray. Right? Because I mean, think about it. What else would New Day be doing? Like, who would New Day be wrestling at WrestleMania if they were to have a match on the show, which they should? Maybe that's the match. Maybe this was the angle, if it was an injury angle, to set that match up. Because you know it would make sense. Like, if you keep Rey out for a while, right? He doesn't come back until after the Chamber. And then week to week, you've got Kofi and Woods taking out all the members of the LWO. So they take out Dragon Lee, and they take out Cruz del Toro, and yeah, they take out Joaquin Wilde. You got nobody. You're all by yourself, Rey. And that's when Penta steps up. See? That could be it. Justin G, they gave Logan Paul a new finish, and it's not the crypto drop or the rug Paul. We got the Paulverizer. Come on, man. I mean, as a move, it's pretty cool. And by the way, I'm not saying that Penta joins the LWO. I'm saying the LWO gets taken out, and Rey needs a partner. Because there's got to be something with Rey and Penta at some point. So yeah, I'm not saying give him an LWO shirt. I would never say that. Tonga Loa Superfan with a $5 super chat. Is it chamber or bust for Tonga Loa in order for him to main event WrestleMania? Brother, I think his WrestleMania dreams were shattered the moment he came out of the womb. I'm sorry to break it to you. George, what do you do with a sick boat? You take it to the dock. Uh-oh, Sidro, he's infringing on your turf. That one was pretty good, actually. I think you've got some competition here. That's what I think. Jamie Adams. Hey, Solo, just got home from the show. My first live event since '93. It was an absolute blast. Can't wait to hear your take on it. You got 93. That's a long time. I thought it was solid. I didn't think it was the best episode of Raw that we've seen over the past month, but I think the in-ring, you got some real good matches tonight. I think that's really what carried the day. Hydrograd, with Malachi Black officially gone from AEW and very clearly headed back to WWE. What programs and feuds do you see him potentially having on Raw or SmackDown this year? And do you see championship gold in his immediate future? Pump the brakes. Okay, he's not even in the company yet, so I'm not booking him with any championships. But there are plenty of people that I would love to see him work with. AJ Styles, right? We maybe he wrestles Braun Breaker, but otherwise, I don't know what you do with him at WrestleMania, right? I'm not even sure that we will see Malachi before. It's almost like we've heard, even just today, of some names that were, released or got their release from AEW, and everyone's assuming they're going to end up in WWE. And they may not all end up on the main roster right away, but there are potentially a lot of names coming in these next few months. Do you hold off until after WrestleMania and do something with him effective that first Raw after Mania or that first SmackDown after Mania? Right? You don't want to bring everybody in before WrestleMania. Like, the WrestleMania card is, I'm sure, in Triple H's mind, pretty much locked in at this point. And so this is really not the best time to be debuting new people, if we're being honest, let alone 2 or 3 of them. Somebody has to, kind of be left behind and debut after Mania. Maybe we see him after Mania. And who he feuds with, a lot of it depends on which brand he ends up on. But you put Malachi in there with almost anybody. You put Malachi in there with Drew McIntyre. You put Malachi in there with CM Punk. You put Malachi in there with AJ Styles. Chad Gable. If he's tied into this Gable stuff, Malachi and Gable, that'd be a good first program for him. Of course, poor Chad would fucking lose, like he always does. But there's any number of great opponents for him to work with. Him and Drew, I think, could be a lot of fun. Like, I feel like he and McIntyre could probably do some good stuff. Nick Grasso, when it comes to AJ Styles, I think he faces Logan Paul at WrestleMania, and Sheamus finishes his story with the IC title. Well, that'd be fine with me. You know my thoughts on the whole Sheamus story with the IC title. Project Libertad, I used to think Moxley as IWGP champion was the worst world champion of this era, but once Jey Uso beats Gunther, Moxley will now be second worst. There you go. Project Libertad will not be yeeting in Las Vegas in April. That's Easter weekend. You know that? WrestleMania on Easter this year. Easter Sunday. Justin G got my invoices for the mold. $22,000. Can't super chat for a while once I pay this up. Love you folks. See you in the regular chat. $22,000 for the mold? Just for the mold? That's insane. And yet not when you consider the state of healthcare in this country. Well, that's pretty crazy. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, stick around, Justin, because we'll try to keep your spirits up as best as we can. Nick Grasso also, did you see the Karrion Kross segment with him calling the hospital asking if he could visit Sami Zayn? He said he yelled at the doctor for not knowing what a pile driver is and sent him an El Generico mask. I did see that, yes. His promo work on social media has always been top notch. So he's always come up with some very clever stuff. It never really translated to TV. Now we're starting to see it a little bit more, like in some of these backstage segments. But even still, I still feel like that version of him is just different. It's too different than what we see on TV, and I feel like that version of him would be far more appealing. DEH Sires, what is the biggest if that would affect today's WWE the most? Roman never turns heel in 2020, or Vince never leaves? Vince never leaves. I mean, Vince had his hands in everything. You know, he was the puppet master. So, Vince never leaving, and it's not even close. Tongaloa Superfan, how would you feel about Regal giving his Real Man's theme song to Tongaloa when he returns? I don't think Regal would give a shit, and he would be more than happy to let somebody else take that theme song and be associated with it. That's what I think. Sidro, what do you call a dog that does magic? A labracadabrador. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. That's bad. Jeremy Rose, Miro, Black, and Starks available. WWE roster cuts coincidentally happen. New Day. New Day smash Ray's leg with a chair and the ring post. That's why I said injury angle. See, we didn't see any of that. So I'm first learning of this now. But then again, I mean, the Death Riders stomped on Will Hobbs's leg, which was in a chair, and he was back 3 days later. So who knows? We may see Ray back on TV next week. No, I suspect not. So you know what? I feel more confident now about my idea for WrestleMania. I think that they're probably going to keep Ray out long enough to get us that much closer to Mania. Maybe they have New Day taking out different members of the LWO. Ray was only the first. Ray comes back, needs a partner, enter Penta. Ray and Penta against Kofi and Woods at WrestleMania. And that way, you could do AJ and Breakker, which they tease for the Intercontinental title. Or AJ can go off and do something with somebody else, and you leave Breakker open for Sheamus to challenge him for the championship, which honestly, I would still prefer that. Base Beerus, how can you like Jey Uso and not Disco Inferno? Disco would have been a better Royal Rumble winner. Disco was more over than Jey. He was a better worker. Okay, well, Base Beerus unfortunately has gotten into the stash, and it was a bad batch that he got. I don't know what South American country you got this batch from, but somewhere through the pipeline in the network, it got corrupted. You got the bad stuff. Hopefully it don't kill you, but unfortunately it's rotting your brain, if you believe that. The new one, a Solomonster. I honestly think this year's WrestleMania will not be as good as last year's. Well, we don't even know the WrestleMania card yet, so I don't know how you can say that, but last year's WrestleMania was probably an all-timer, so I mean, you may be right. You know, you may be right. And what do you think of the Nation of Domination in the Hall of Fame? One day, I can see them going in one day, but I don't know. I lean towards no. But I'm more particular than they are. At some point, all of these people and all of these groups are going to go in. If it's me, I say no. Rizzo, poor Ray Phoenix and Wardlow. AEW releases 3 unhappy talent, and yet those 2 are still in Guantanamo jail. Well, for now they are. I mean, that doesn't mean they have to all be released on the same day. You know, let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see what happens next week. I was surprised to hear that they got their releases today. So who's to say that they won't end up getting theirs? DEH says, I think it's Io, Rhea, and Bianca. 2019 NXT vibes. Well, that, you know what? That would be interesting. See, I would prefer that over Rhea, Io, and Liv. If they did, because it's the 2 people that I said I would have loved to have seen win the Royal Rumble. So if they both somehow get in, I could fuck with that. I could fuck with that idea. I like that. This journey called life. When would be the right time to bring up Trick? At least 6 months. I wouldn't bring him up now. Base Beerus, thank you for the 2. Sidro, you're too much. OM too cool. Sidro, you are something else. OM too cool. Brother Solo, do you think Gable has the role that X-Pac had in the Attitude Era? The measuring stick that you know. Oh, he said the measuring stick, you know? No, I mean, he's a gatekeeper. So, I don't know if that's the X-Pac role, but he's like a gatekeeper. Kind of like honestly, what Carmelo Hayes has been in some ways. Penta got a great match with him. A lot of people have had great matches with him. I mean, it's not all that shocking that Chad Gable has had great matches with a lot of people. But no, he was a great first opponent for Penta. He really was. Hey, Alex, thank you for the $10 super chat. If and when Malachi Black, Ricky Starks, and Rusev return to WWE, can you see all 3 of them be potential main eventers, or will they be relegated to the mid-card similar to Andrade? I think Malachi Black can be a main eventer a lot quicker than the other 2. Rusev, no. I don't see that happening. Ricky Starks is possible, but I think it'll take time on the main roster. In NXT, he could be a main eventer on day 1. And honestly, and I wouldn't have said this maybe 6 months ago, but I do think that if Ricky goes to NXT first, which I'm starting to think he will, I think that would be better. I think that would be the best thing for him. Let him go to NXT. He'll be an instant main eventer. Let him have a hot run there for even 6 months, right? It doesn't have to be a long time. Just to get him primed and ready and when there's a better spot for him. Because I kind of feel like if he were to come in now, I don't know where he gets plugged into. So I almost feel like it would be better for the people, especially the ones who don't know him and aren't familiar with him, to let him have like a main event level run in NXT for a while. Maybe even win the NXT championship and then transition to the main roster. Project Libertad says, when Vinci was released, you were the first person I thought of. P.S. Jey Uso is a waste of a Rumble winner. Well, Vinci was inevitable. I mean, I don't see how anybody could be surprised by that. I'm waiting to find out when the day comes the real reason why his push got derailed in the way that it did. Why he was booted out of Imperium, and why his push got killed, and why he got buried. There has to be a reason for it beyond we didn't see anything in him, or we didn't have anything for him. They took the time to repackage this guy. It was like it was intentional. It was personal. It was done as a way to bury, and I don't use that word loosely, but it was done as a way to bury him. I want to know why. I want the story to come out one day of why. I know the rumors are out there, but that's all they are rumors about him hitting on Tiffany and pissing off Kaiser. That's one of those internet rumors that's never been substantiated. I don't know who started it. I don't know if it's true. Whether it's that or something else, something happened. He did something to get on someone's bad side. I absolutely believe that 100%. And one day we'll find out what that is. Right now, I don't know what it is. But there's not a doubt in my mind. He did something that, unfortunately for him, whether it was deserved or not, unfortunately for him, basically killed his career. I would love to know what that was. All right, well, you made a comeback here because now we're sitting at over 450 likes. So thank you guys for that. Again, don't forget, those 2 links are pinned in the live chat. David put together, he took a lot of time to put those polls together. He compiles all of these Be the Booker matches that I've booked. I mean, he puts a lot of time and effort into it, probably too much. But the 2 polls are pinned in the chat. You can go vote. So he wanted to make sure I mentioned that. But right now, let's go ahead and be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
Well, that bell was definitely not meant to go off, but it did because I forgot to turn the bell off. So you can ignore that. But we are doing Tag Team Be the Booker. We'll see if we are hearing all those sound effects when we are done here with this installment of Be the Booker. I hope so. I hope we have a good one. Let's see. I'm going to start with Tag Team Be the Booker. Hey, Jeremy Rose, thank you for the super chat. Stone Cold Steve Austin and Dude Love, former tag team champions, kicking us off here in Be the Booker. Ow! Have mercy. Austin and Dude Love against Mankind and The Rock. Does this count as a mirror match? Because we have Mick Foley on both sides. We have, but see, it's 2 different faces of Foley. We have on one side Mankind, and on the other we have Dude Love. So it's kind of like 2 different people. Rock against Austin, though. This may be the best tag team match we've ever booked. I mean, that's an easy bell right there. I should have belled that twice. All right, women's Be the Booker. Men's Be the Booker. Main event time. Rey Mysterio, as he was tonight on Monday Night Raw. On Raw, Rey Mysterio is in the main event, and here in Breathe in Bree the Booker tonight. That was an intentional, accidental slip of the tongue. In Bree the Booker tonight, we have Rey Mysterio in the main event. God, I can't get her off the brain now. Oh my God. Rey Mysterio is going to take on Kenny Omega. Now, there's a match that I would have loved to have seen 10 years ago. Rey Mysterio against Kenny Omega. That would have been fucking fire. That would have been great. Now, that's a match right there. That right there is a match. And that ends this installment of Bree the Booker. Less said about that, the better. Retro KOH, thank you for 23 months of membership. I had my students watch over my Samsung yesterday. They were my guardians of the galaxy. Retro, you gotta leave that to the professionals. You gotta leave that to the professional comedians. Jeremy Rose, the people say Jey is a bad Rumble winner, or the people who say that don't understand the business. All demographics love Jey Uso, especially kids, aka future fans. There you go. Project Libertad. Jeremy Rose just had a rebuttal for you. We need a Bree the Booker super chat now. We already have one. We already have a super chat. You want another one? OM2 cool. What if Vinci was never released and was actually used properly? He would be Joy Giovanni. Hi, Sidro. I think Sidro's created like a whole army of Sidros here, which is pretty fucking scary, I gotta say. Joy Giovanni. My God. It's like Happy Corbin. By the way, it was great to see Happy Corbin at the Super Bowl last night. I saw him in his hat. He looked a little bit like The Undertaker, but I'm pretty sure it was Happy Corbin. And Retro with a super chat here says, you booked an opponent for Rosa, but not for Brie. I know you're lactose intolerant, but damn. Yep, wasn't happening. Wasn't happening. I saw what I needed to see, and I moved on. And you should too. Happy Taker. Randy took a dump in Joy Giovanni's bag. Yeah, that was young punk Randy Orton, who was a menace back then. He's a lot more mellowed out here at his older age now. Thank you for hanging out with me on a Monday night. This is a fun stream. Solid episode of Raw. I am hoping that AEW can keep things rolling because I happen to think Dynamite and Collision this past week were both really good. And so I am hoping to see more of the same this week. Of course, this weekend is Grand Slam Australia, which has been a complete debacle as far as everything that's gone into getting to this point. The card itself looks pretty good, but there's going to be a segment going up on the channel tomorrow about how we got here with that Australia show, and it has been just a complete fiasco. But Dynamite is tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Wednesday. I don't even know what day of the week it is. Dynamite is on Wednesday. I'll be here. I'll be here Friday after SmackDown. I'll also be here Hey, thank you, Base Beerus. I will also be not here, but over on JD's channel for Tuesday Night Titans, which is back this week. Missed it last week because I was under the weather and not able to speak. I was under strict orders not to speak, so I didn't. But we're back. We'll be back tomorrow night, so a lot of content coming your way this week. I hope you guys join. And again, subscribe here to the channel if you have not already done so. We recently passed 84,000 subscribers, which means we are very close to 85, which is kind of the next milestone here. So go to 85, and then we try to get to 90. Then we're getting into the big numbers here. But I can't do that without you, so go ahead and subscribe. Be well, stay safe, have yourselves a great rest of your week, and I will see you back here for more Sound Off, a lot more content coming up. Base Beerus says Jey Uso belongs on reality TV, not on WrestleMania. Well, hey, WWE is reality TV, right? It's a form of reality TV, is it not? So basically what you're saying is that Jey Uso belongs on WWE television. I will see you guys later this week. Hopefully, maybe somebody will be my Valentine this year. We have Valentine's Day coming up on Friday. Maybe somebody will be my Valentine. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. What's Greg up to these days? Maybe Greg can be my Valentine. I'll see you guys next time.
Fuck Kevin Dunn.